Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Tony Robbins UPW My Experience podcast episode. I don't know if that was a full sentence, but I'm going with it. So here's the deal. Here's why we're here. I attended the Tony Robbins UPW, which is Unleash the Power Within conference. It's a big conference. It was in Newark, New Jersey. 11,000 people attended, and it was a stadium event. And I feel like in the last episode I told you what I knew about the event, right? But basically what I knew before going was Tony Robbins is adored and worshipped by many fans around the world. And to tell you the truth, when I first started out, when I was in corporate, which I was there for 15 years, I had no idea that there was this whole entrepreneurial world, right? I didn't know what this whole thing was about. It wasn't until I really started doing this full time that I started to really pay attention to what everybody was talking about, to what everybody's goals are, to what they're going for, to how they make money. So I started really studying it. And to my surprise, the name Tony Robbins came up a lot. Everybody that I followed would say that Tony Robbins changed their life, that their events are amazing, that if you go to an event, it'll be transformational. This is all the things that I heard. But to tell you the truth, when I was back in corporate, I didn't know who Tony Robbins really was. I knew that he was in shallow hell. So I knew that much. So it was like a motivational speaker, I guess. But I got him confused with David Blaine a lot. David Blaine, the magician, the illusionist. I would get them confused because I'm like, oh yeah, people who do like that type of like woo-woo stuff, right? So I just kind of like put them both together. So anyway, by getting into this whole entrepreneurial world, I found out that Tony Robbins is actually a pretty big deal. And, like shame on me for not knowing this. So I first learned about him because other people were talking about him. Other people signed up to be a platinum partner with him. That's one of his products where he takes a whole bunch of millionaires and takes them on adventures around the world, takes them to do, super fancy stuff like speedboat racing in Monaco, like, prancing around the desert in camels in Abu Dhabi, like all sorts of extravagant things that these millionaires get to do in these trips, but they also attach some charity work to it. So these trips are transformational. These trips, you go there and you get a completely different perspective of what the world is. So that's what a platinum partnership is. So I follow a couple of those platinum partners. And so that's what I knew about Tony Robbins. About UPW in particular, I knew that this was his baby event, right? This is the event that he markets to the masses, right? It means that it's the cheapest event to go to. If you want to see Tony Robbins in action, this is the cheapest way to go and do it. So there's different packages. They have the general admission and you have the executive and you have the VIP. So the difference between all of these is that first of all, if you go with a group, you'll get a group rate. So I actually got the VIP package for the general admission normal price. So that's what I would recommend. Number one, if you're planning on going to one of these things, make sure you're going with a group so you can get a group rate because it's worth it. You sit in a much better place. The difference between them is that if you're general admission, you're sitting in the nosebleeds section, all right? Like the farthest away from the stage as possible. If you are in the executive section, which is one level up, you are sitting opposite the stage. So if you imagine a stadium, right? And the stage is on one end of the, if you think of it as a rectangle or an oval, if the stage is in one end, you're sitting in the very opposite end. So there's much fewer seats because it's just like literally one section across from the stage. And then there's a VIP section, which is everything else around the stadium, right? So you're not in the nosebleeds, you're down here, but you're surrounding the stadium right around the stage. And then there's the diamond, which is, means that you get to sit on the floor. Diamond preferred means that you get to sit on the floor close to the stage. And then there's the platinum partners, who are the people who get the ticket for free because they're already paying $125,000 a year to be part of platinum partners. And they sit literally like by the stage. That's that orchestra section. That's where they sit. So that's the difference between the different packages. Why is this a big deal and why did I go? Why is it a big deal? Because everybody's talking about it. That's pretty much it. Everybody says how transformational it is. Now, I follow business people who say this is transformational, but that doesn't mean that this is a business conference, all right? In fact, this is a very psychological conference. Unleash Your Power Within is all about getting you to become aware of what your fears are and getting you to overcome them. So it's 4 days. You are jumping around for 12 hours each day. Do you get to eat? Yes, you get to eat. There are breaks some of the days. Some days there are no breaks, but it doesn't matter because you can just walk out, and they do serve lunch. There's a warm line outside, like in the stadium ground. So you can just go get yourself something to eat and come back, eat it in your seat. So when they tell you you can't eat, not true, but you will want to be a part of the experience, especially the days that Tony Robbins is there. Tony Robbins is only there day 1 and day 3. And the reason, day 1 and day 3. And the reason is that, his voice won't let him. Like he will tell you the story of his voice, how he's basically, his vocal cords are supposed to be as thick as your lips. And for him, they're as thin as a piece of paper. So his voice cords are like shot, and he's like, the doctors are dumbfounded because he's basically willing himself to speak. He's like, it doesn't make sense that you're able to speak. So to help with that situation, he has to maintain 24-hour rest the day after he goes on these 12-hour rants. So anyway, so that's why he's there only 2 days of the week, to make it more sustainable for him, which is fine. The other 2 days you get other stuff, and I'll tell you about that. So that's why it's a big deal. A lot of people swear by it. A lot of people say they've gotten really good results out of it. So I was expecting to go and to come back a completely different person, a changed person. Did that happen? That's yet to be seen, because I don't think you can change overnight. But I did learn a lot about myself and how to overcome certain fears that I continue to practice every single day so that I don't forget, so that I can stay in that mindset. So I'm going to tell you all about that. Was it worth it? Yes. Would I go again? Yes. I didn't always think that way. By the end of day 2, it was very informational. Sure, there were activities and it was fun to be around people, and the Firewalk was cool, and I'll tell you about that too. But by the end of day 2, I was like, I wouldn't come back. I got the information. I'm done. So yeah, so day 3 is what really made me think, got it. That's why people keep coming back. So that's what we're going to go through in this episode. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened on day 3 that made me think, yeah, I would go back. And it was totally worth it. Okay, I'll get there. But first, preparation. How should you prepare? How to prepare for the event. This is what you should expect. You should expect that it will be long days, that you will be standing up and sitting down, standing up and sitting down. You will be jumping around, okay? Yes, you will be. Even if you don't think you will, because 11,000 people are doing it. You're going to be jumping around. If you want to get the most out of it, you're going to be jumping around. So I suggest you wear comfortable shoes, okay? Don't try to be fancy. Don't try to take your new shoes that you haven't broken in yet. Take sneakers, okay? Very important. Number 2, people say that it gets very cold in the room. This is true. Because you're jumping around, you may not feel super cold, but there were times when I had to put my hoodie on and I was a little bit shivering. So that was only one of the days that I really felt that way. I think that was on day 4 maybe. The rest of the days I felt fine, but what I was wearing was, I was wearing a tank top, a shirt, like a normal short sleeve shirt, a sweatshirt, like a thick sweatshirt on top, then a vest, a very thin, like vest, like kind of wintry vest, and then another sweatshirt on top. So I had 3 warm layers on me, and I thought that was plenty. I thought that was good. I did bring gloves just in case, and I did use them on that last day just because it was crazy how cold it was. They do give you gloves there though. That's fun. When you register, they give you a little bag with gloves inside. Okay, what else should you expect? How else should you prepare? I have a story for you guys, because I did prepare for this thing like it was insane. I knew exactly what to expect. How to prepare? Bring a pair of flip-flops for day 1, because on day 1 is when the Firewalk happens. So at the end of the day, they're going to tell you, leave all of your belongings and your shoes in the stadium, and everybody will. So everybody's going to walk barefoot to outside to the parking lot, where they're going to have 30 lanes, depending on how many people there are, but there are going to be 30 lanes of fire walking. And everybody's going there barefoot and coming back barefoot. I prepared. So I brought a pair of flip-flops with me. So I wore flip-flops to the parking lot. And once I got to the parking lot, I took them off. I did the Firewalk and then put them back on to come back. And it was the smartest thing I did all week. So if you get anything out of this, take a pair of flip-flops and wear them to the parking lot when you do the Firewalk. Okay. What else do you need to do to prepare? Bring food. Sure, snacks helped, especially the days that Tony was there because you didn't want to miss anything. So you were constantly eating snacks. And because you're there for 12-hour days, you don't want to just wait for lunch and then come back. You want to continue eating. So here's a tip, and this is going to be part of my bigger story a little later on. Make sure it is pre-packaged food, and I don't mean you package it yourself. I mean it's factory packaged, because they will make you throw it away if you packed it yourself. They made me throw away my lunch. So don't pack it yourself. Bring like wrapped things, like nuts and power bars and all that stuff. Bring that pre-packaged, otherwise I'll make you throw it out. What else did I want to tell you about that? So day one is going to be cold. What else did I want to tell you about that? If you have any questions, let me know. I have this open right here, so you guys can tell me. So I brought a bag with me, a little bag that had, my flip-flops and my food. I brought a notebook. I wrote in my notebook mostly, even though they gave us a workbook. And let me show it to you. So they give you a workbook when you register. It's this one. It's everything that goes on each day and all the activities, okay? They also, because they are so nice, they give you Tony Robbins' Unshakable book, okay? So you got that too. Then they also have like a few little bonuses. So if you come and you register on Wednesday, you get a bonus. If you go and register on Sunday, if you arrive early on Sunday, they give you a bonus. So this is a bonus that I got for arriving there early on Sunday for the coaching session. I'll tell you more about that later, but it's basically a digital program, right? I need to find a CD or a DVD player. I guess I have one on my computer. I guess I could watch this on my computer. But anyway, so you get like little bonuses here and there. I did take a notebook with me and I wrote in it a lot, right? You could have written all these things in the workbook, but I wanted the chance to brainstorm. I wanted the chance to write things down, and it served me well. So bring a notebook with you. Everybody will tell you, bring a lot of pens. And I'm like, why? What are the chances you're going to run out of that pen you brought? But you might lose it. Actually, like on the last day, I lost my pen. Like it fell in front of, like in the seats in front of me, and I didn't see it. I'm like, it's a good thing I packed another pen. So bring pens, multiple pens, just in case you lose it. You're not going to be left not being able to write anything down. Okay, bring Purell. Are you writing this down? Bring Purell. There's going to be a lot of high-fiving. And something that people tell you is that after those events, you will get sick with the Tony flu, right? I didn't get sick. You know what I was doing? I wore gloves when I high-five people, or during registration because I wasn't prepared. I wasn't wearing gloves. I would give people the elbow, like the elbow, it's like the elbow bump, right? I would do that. Bring Purell because there's going to be a lot of high-fiving. You don't want to get sick. So if there's high-fiving and you're not wearing gloves, high-five people, be friendly, but Purell, big time. You don't want to get sick after. A lot of people get sick at those events. I think that is basically it. Flip-flops, notebook, snacks, dress warm, in layers preferably because you'll be jumping around. You'll want to take things off. Sneakers, and don't package your own food. Bring prepackaged food. They will give you goodies. Another way to prepare is to know when registration is. Registration happens the day before and the day of. I have heard people say that it doesn't matter when you register because it's basically the same. And I totally agree. In terms of speed, it doesn't matter whether you register on Wednesday or Thursday. On Thursday, in fact, I registered on Wednesday. So I went on Thursday and I lined up. I was like first in line. I got there like 7 a.m. There were other people there with me. And it turns out they had given me the wrong lanyard because they give you a lanyard to identify which section you're supposed to be sitting in. Here's mine, right? They give you something to like a wristband to put on your wrist to make sure that you paid. This just basically means you paid for admission. this was my VIP lanyard, and it's yellow, and it matters. So they gave me the wrong one. They gave me a green one. So on Thursday, even though I was first in line, I told the very nice guys behind me, hey, can you save my seat? Can you save my spot? And I went to registration. There was no line at registration. I just went right through. I told them, give me a new lanyard. They did. And I had to go through the registration line, through the entire thing. And it was very, very easy, very seamless. So whether you register one day or the other, doesn't matter. Except that, number one, you want to relieve that stress, right, for Thursday, right? You just want to be there and go get your seat. Number two, on Wednesday, they give you a bonus. And I don't remember what the bonus was. I mean, they gave you your bag, they gave you some gloves. The bonus may have been the book, actually. This may have been the bonus. I don't remember what the bonus was. If somebody remembers, put it in here. Okay. So I recommend that you register on Wednesday. Get the goodies, get the bonus. There's a long line at first, but once it starts moving, it moves very fast. And it's fun. Everybody in there just keeps it fun. It's a whole bunch of volunteers. They all high-fiving you. I'm here giving them elbows. And so it was fun, right? So that takes care of registration. Now I'm going to tell you about the deviled ham sandwich. Are you ready for this? So because I prepare for this event, I listen to every YouTube video there is out there about the event. I listen to people's podcasts about what they thought of the event, what they took out of it, what they took away from it, what they recommended I bring with me. And everybody was saying there's not going to be any time to eat, right? There is. So that's really not necessarily true. But they're like, no, like pack snacks and food. So what I did was, okay, I'm going to pack my snacks and my food. But they didn't tell me that it had to be prepackaged. So that's why I'm telling you it has to be prepackaged. So what I did was I actually traveled to New York with a big Tupperware where I kept bread because I didn't want it to get squished. So I put it in a big Tupperware. So like bread and deviled ham. I'm from Venezuela. Deviled ham is a thing. Let's all get over it collectively. So I'm gonna make deviled ham sandwiches so that I can take them, and that's what I'm gonna eat. And that way I don't have to pay for food and I don't have to move from my seat, because food was expensive, guys. In the arena, food is expensive. It's like airport prices. So I brought my sandwich, and I'm telling you, I prepared that morning, made my 2 sandwiches. I packed them. I brought paper towels, guys. So I wrapped them in paper towels. I brought Ziploc bags. I wrapped it in a Ziploc bag. I was ready. Okay, one of the things that they tell you in the conference is they help you identify what your values are. And after I learned about values, I'm like, I guess I value certainty because I just wanted to know exactly what was going to happen, and I wanted to have full control over everything. So that's what happened. I brought my sandwich, and this is what happened. I get to the security line. I'm excited. I'm one of the first people there. I'm going to get a great seat. And I get there and they look at my sandwich and they're like, throw this out. It has to be prepackaged. I'm like, but that's my lunch. And they're like, throw it out. It can't go in. I was in shock, right? I went through all of this trouble, all this preparation because I needed to be certain of the outcome. And all of a sudden, on the first day, on the first interaction with anybody at the event, immediately I'm faced with, oh my God, did I not prepare right? So I throw it out and I start to go inside. And like I said, they have 1 million volunteers where everybody's high-fiving you. So I go inside with my bag and I see like 3 people lined up to give me a high five, like, hey, like getting the energy up. And I'm like this. Like in shock that just happened. So as I'm going up the escalator, I told myself to snap the heck out of it. I was here at a Tony Robbins event. I was going to learn a whole ton. I was going to be transformed, and I am already draining my energy because of a stupid deviled ham sandwich. I haven't even had deviled ham in months, and all of a sudden this deviled ham sandwich became the most important thing in my life, and I couldn't believe that they had taken it away from me. So I had to like snap out of it. And so from that point on, I actually started to have this mantra where deviled ham sandwich, every time something little happened. For example, when you get inside the arena, they don't open the doors right away, the doors to the seating area. They'll open the doors to the arena, so you get in there, and now you have to stand in line waiting for them to open the curtain so you can go and find a seat. So in those places, it can get pretty mobby. It's not organized, it's not a line. So people can really get in there, and cutting in line is not really a concept there, right? It's just a mob. So I was in one particular mob, and I'm like, pretty much in the front, and I'm like, I like that mob better. I think we're gonna get better seat there. So we moved from one mob to another, and I just snuck into the front, and somebody called me out for cutting in line, and I immediately felt like all the blood drained from my body. I'm not the kind of person who lies. I'm not the kind of person who's trying to cheat anybody. This was just the wild, wild west. There was really no organization to this line. So she calls me on it, and I'm drained. I'm like, and I start to feel really, really, really bad about it. And she's like, well, I don't want to, call people out on a positive event, right? And I'm like, then why did you? Right? Because even after I got there, more and more people came right after me, in front of the same lady, and other people cut in front of me. So like I said, this wasn't an organized line. It was just a mob, and you just, it is what it is. But she decided to call me out on it, and I felt so bad that I kept telling myself, deviled ham sandwich, don't let what somebody else is doing, whatever her feelings are, to affect your experience of the event. And then something else happened. Oh, you guys, all these things, somebody was trying to tell me something, that this is something that I need to work on, right? So putting opportunity over opportunity, another opportunity for me to work on this, feeling awful, awful, awful when things like these happen. So I got my seat. And there was a guy who was sitting next to me, and he left. He said, oh, I guess I need to move again. And he left. Now, this guy didn't tell me to guard his seat. I didn't see that he left anything in the seat. And somebody asked me, is somebody sitting there? And I'm like, well, I don't know the guy. I don't know if he's coming back. I don't see anything in his seat. I'm going to say, I don't know. Maybe he left and not coming back, but he's not with me, so I don't know. So these same people that were asking if that seat was taken, they wanted to sit together, and there were some, in the lower row. So I told them, okay, why don't I move one over, right? And you guys can sit together. They're like, oh, that is so nice. Great, thank you. So we move, and as I'm moving to the seat, I see this, I see a package, with a plastic wrap on it, in the seat, because these are the folding seats, so the seat had folded on top of it. So I saw it there, and I'm like, oh, somebody forgot their stuff. I didn't think that this was that guy's stuff, because it was so generic. It wasn't a coat, it wasn't a purse, it was just a registration packet. I'm like, oh, somebody left this here. So I moved it. So I took it and I moved it behind my seat, and I sat there. As the event is starting, the guy comes back. And he comes back, and he's trying to sit in my seat. I'm there, and he stands in front of me, attempting to sit where I was sitting. And I'm like, I'm sorry, dude, you lost your seat. You were not guarding it. You didn't tell me to save it. You lost your seat. And everybody's jumping, and the music is going. He tells me but my stuff was there. I'm like, and I lied, guys. I lied, and I feel terrible about this. I lied. I said I didn't see your stuff, which was true at first, but I didn't want to get into the whole, I'm going to explain to you why I moved. Everything I just went through with you. Like I said, it was very, very loud in the room. Everybody was jumping. So I'm like, I didn't see your stuff. He's like, yeah, you moved it, he told me. And I'm like, oh my God. So it's this is the universe putting these opportunities for growth in front of me, right? It was an honest mistake. So I could have just sat down and explained to him, hey, it was an honest mistake, but he lost his seat. So another thing is, to help you prepare. Yes, you can leave your seat. People like me are not just going to go and take it to be malicious, but you have to leave something on them, something more than your registration package, which makes people think that you didn't actually were saving the seat. Leave your coat. If you leave your coat, you'll be fine. So there's that. But I definitely had a lot of opportunities for growth in this event, because every time something like that happened, I'm like, ah! So yes, don't take people's seat. Don't cut in line. All of these things that I learned the hard way, and that I had to keep reminding myself, don't sweat it. Things are fine. The guy found a seat. That woman, nobody was really cutting in line. It was just everybody going at once. So those are my stories and my deviled ham sandwich lesson. When something small happens to you, is it a deviled ham sandwich? Is it something that you're willing to let go of so that you can have an experience, right? Learn from it and then move on. You guys, there's no need to sweat all this small stuff. So that's what happened. That's what happened. So don't pack your lunch, don't take people's seats, and try not to cut in line. How's that for the lessons? All right. So most importantly, don't sweat the small stuff. Everybody in the event is going to be very chaotic, right? It's going to be a lot of people in really high vibes, okay? You want to have the best time that you can. So do that. Be kind to others. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about each day. We're already half an hour in. I feel like I've told you, we've recapped why I went, right? We've recapped how to prepare, right? How to prepare, how not to sweat the small stuff. Remember that deviled ham sandwich? I know I'll remember it for the rest of my life. So day one, Tony Robbins was there, and it was all about figuring out how to change your state in a second. So my lesson was, okay, I need to change my state. Excuse me. So my lesson was, I need to change my state. I need to stop feeling like this, right? I need to, if somebody is, putting that burden on me, right? If somebody's making me feel this way, I need to be able to just get myself back into a good state. Otherwise, I'm just going to ruin my day for no good reason. So that's what day one is all about. He teaches you how to change your state, your feelings in an instant. So I'm going to tell you what I took away from it, because like I said, this was 12 hours. So I'm not going to be able to tell you everything that went on, but I'll tell you what I took away from it. So about changing your state, the trick is, if you're feeling nervous about something, if you're feeling what they say, low vibe. I don't like using those words because it's very NLP words that I don't really use. But like, if you are nervous about something, if you're not feeling good about something, a really good way to tell yourself to snap out of it is to start to remember things that you're grateful for. Does that make sense? So, for example, for me, it was remembering my son, right? I have a 1-year-old and he's the cutest thing in the world. So I would just, as soon as I feel this way, I start thinking about him. Or if I have him in front of me, I stare at him. And I just start to feel extremely grateful that he's here. I start to feel grateful about my life, about, things are great. I have a loving husband. I have the house with the 2-car garage, right? Like I have no, nothing tragic is going on in my life right now. So I'm just going to be thankful of all the opportunities that I have. If you are in a space where you are feeling like, yes, tragic things are happening in my life, the exercise still holds, because what's most important here is your mindset so that you can continue to move forward. If you are stuck in a mindset of tragedy, of doom, of not feeling great about yourself, not feeling great about your situation in life, the only way that you can get out of it is by changing yourself first, by starting to act as if you're already successful, you've already overcome what it is that you need to overcome, by giving yourself the self-care that you need, right? So one of those great ways, like I said, this is like a hack, right? Because like I said, it's 12 hours of activities. But a really, really good hack was just look inside and start to feel really grateful about the things that you do have, right? Do you have your health? Do you have a family that loves you? Do you have parents who loved you? Do you have, children who adore you? Do you have a roof over your head and clean water out of your faucets? Start to feel grateful, because what they say is that you can't feel grateful and angry at the same time. And it's true. It takes a little bit of practice though. So it's not something that works like magic the first time around. It's something you kind of train yourself to do, to bring yourself back up to a good state. So that's all day one was about, is how to change your state. So there were many exercises that we went through to try to get ourselves to understand that. So what he says is the way to change your state is by changing 3 things: your language, your focus, and your physiology. So what he means by that is if I'm feeling what they call low vibe, right? If I'm feeling nervous about something, or I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling, insert your negative emotion here, the first thing I'm going to do is look at those three things. Okay, change my focus. And that means start thinking about something else. Start thinking about something you're grateful for. So that's your focus, right? Stop thinking about this one situation that happened. Start thinking about something else that brings you joy. So start thinking about my kids, right? And how wonderful they are. So that's your focus. The next thing you need to change is your language. So instead of saying, woe is me, I don't know if anybody says that. I say that, woe is me. So if you're thinking, you're telling yourself that you're stupid. If you're telling yourself that, you're doing something wrong. If you're beating yourself up, change your language. Use the opposite, right? I am a very smart person, and I feel bad that guy lost his seat. He could have made a better decision, but from my standpoint, it was an honest mistake. So it's not fair for me to really beat myself up over that guy losing his seat when it was an honest mistake. I can take a lesson from it, and next time act a little bit smarter, right? But that doesn't mean that I need to beat myself up for the rest of the day and owe him reverence because I did something wrong. Be fair with yourself and change your language. I am an intelligent person. That was an honest mistake, and I can move on with my life. And the third thing that you need to change is your physiology. What he means by physiology is if you are slouching and sad, like notice what you look like when you're depressed and when you're sad and when you're mad and when you're angry, and change it completely. Shoulders back, face up. One of the things that they showed us was the Superwoman pose, right? So like if you go like this, it immediately like sends all of these chemicals to your brain telling you that you are in charge, that you're ready for battle. So one of the things that I relate this to is, and I was actually really super surprised that he was going through this, because it's exactly what I think, that your body or your brain is not, let me see how I can phrase this. It's not that the way you feel affects how you come off or what your body does. It's kind of the other way around. The way that your body is and the things that you're telling yourself are the ones that tell your mind how to feel. So when you flip that, right? When you're like, you don't say, I'm depressed because this is happening. You say, I am uplifted. So brain, catch up with me. Right? So when you change your physiology, when you change how you present yourself, Superwoman pose. Superwoman. It's not Superwoman. Is it Superwoman? Wonder Woman. Not Superwoman. When you guys correct me. Wonder Woman pose. So Wonder Woman pose, your brain basically acts, it's almost as it's looking at you from the outside. Like it's a video game. Right? So if you're looking at a video game of yourself and you are on the screen and you're making yourself jump around and be happy, your brain looks at you and says, she's happy, right? So that's how the brain works. It's not that, wait, the brain is unhappy and that doesn't match. No, the brain looks at you and says, she looks happy. So when you smile more, right? When you smile, you have your shoulders back, you get into Wonder Woman pose, your brain starts to think, oh, shoot, she means business. She's happy. She's in a good state right now. So you have to flip that on its side. So that's all day one was about. It's about being able to change your state through changing your focus, changing your language, and changing your physiology. Okay? I don't teach this stuff. This stuff is all Tony Robbins' stuff. And I believe, I haven't finished reading the book yet, but his book, Awaken the Giant Within, I think it has all of this stuff in it. I'm still on page 20. So I can't tell you that. But that's basically what we went through. So that was day one. Okay? Day two, it was also equally powerful. There's a very, very charismatic man taking the place of Tony Robbins. His name is Joseph McClendon III. Very, very fun guy. He gets you to do all these activities. He does a whole Simon Says thing where he gets a whole stadium to play Simon Says, and so he keeps it going. He teaches you some things. But this is a part where I said, it was fun, right? It was all about trying to identify, visualize your future and visualize what is it that you really want out of life. So it was a great exercise, but I've already kind of done that a lot, right? So by the end of day 2, I was like, I wouldn't come back to this event. I mean, oh, I didn't tell you about the Firewalk. I'll tell you about that. But yeah, at the end of day 2, I'm like, okay, it was informational. It's kind of cool to know how to change your state and practice it. It's kind of cool to visualize exactly what I want for myself and picture myself there. That all has been very cool. But I wouldn't come back for that. Day 3 was the magic. But let me tell you about the Firewalk. I was not fearful of the Firewalk. Why? Because I'm always open to new adventures and new experiences, right? So if they tell me that 11,000 people are going to go walk on coals and they're not going to burn their feet, that's something I'm going to try, okay? Not even to prove them wrong, to prove them right. Because how cool would that be? To tell people, hey, I walked on fire. I walked on red hot fire coals, and I didn't burn my feet. How cool would it be to say that? So that's my attitude towards the Firewalk. But I'm gonna tell you what, even in our own group, because I went with a group, even in our own group, half of them decided not to do the Firewalk. So it's not something everybody does. So out of 11,000 people, maybe 4,000 did, right? A lot of people just chose not to. They didn't see the need. They didn't, want to go through the trouble. They didn't want to leave their shoes in the stadium. I mean, there were all sorts of reasons why people didn't want to do it, and that's okay. You take from the experience whatever you want to get out of the experience, right? I was gonna do it. I was there. I was going to do it. So I did it. So it was fun. It was cool. I did not burn my feet. I do have to tell you though that I tripped before, like when I took off my shoes in the stadium, I tripped backwards and I nicked the back of my heel. So when I finished the Firewalk, I did get a little bit of black coal in that little nick. So I didn't really burn my feet, but that little piece of my foot kind of got the worst of it. It was not a burn. It was just a little bit black, so I just had to get the ashes off of it. But that's basically what happened. One thing that I'll tell you is that when we went outside, like I told you, I was wearing flip-flops, but it was a very cold day. This was in New Jersey, right? It was a very cold day, so everybody's walking barefoot across the street. Very happy I brought my flip-flops. But once we were there, it was a mob of people. Like, they didn't really line you up very neatly. Mob of people, everybody waiting for their turn for one of the lanes. And I decided to take off my flip-flops even before getting to the coals because the ground was so cold that I figured if my feet are cold, it's going to take them a little bit to catch up to my brain if it touches something hot. So it actually helped to walk on cold ground before I did it. So that's what I did. I took off my flip-flops maybe 5 minutes before I actually walked on the coals. So my feet were so cold that when I went, I did my move, right? Because they tell you to do a move. They practice. They tell you exactly what to do to practice getting yourself in the right mindset. So you get there. Don't let anybody rush you, okay? Some people felt rushed, and those are the people that get burned. Once you get there, take a deep breath. They're going to tell you, go, go, go. Don't listen to them. Take a deep breath, do your move, whatever your move is. Tony Robbins has you identify a move, like a power move. Like mine was like, right? Like, okay, yes, let's do this, right? And unstoppable. And you just walk, like decisively. You just walk on the coals. The first 3 steps, it was like 5 steps. The first 3 steps, I felt nothing. It was like walking on, I don't know. It didn't even feel like gravel, right? Because the coals are bigger than gravel. But yeah, you feel something, like you're walking on some texture, right? I don't know if it's like maybe lumpy sand or something. I don't know what that would even be. So I walked 3 steps, and the last 2 steps is like, oh, there it is. This is hot. But by then you're already done with it. So my feet did not get burned. As soon as I was done with it, they have a hose with water, so they spray your feet. So make sure that you're wearing pants that you can roll up, all right, so that you don't get your pants dirty or wet. So they wash your feet right as you step off the coals, and then you celebrate, you scream, you jump, you hug people. Put my flip-flops back on, and we walked all the way back. I will tell you, a lot of people felt jealous of my flip-flops. Take them with you. So that's how the Firewalk was. A lot of people who were fearful of the Firewalk felt a very powerful sense of, I accomplishment of like they actually overcame one of their big fears. I mean, walking on fire is not something everybody just kind of goes and does. So people who were fearful of it, they felt very, very powerful afterwards. So if you are the kind of person who's afraid, who would be afraid to burn your feet, to walk on coals, first of all, you don't have to do it. Secondly, if you do choose to do it, you will feel a great sense of, I'm going to say power. Right? You feel empowered right after, because if you can walk on coals, you can pretty much do anything. If you're like me, more the adventurous side, it was cool to do. Okay, that's where I'm gonna leave the Firewalk. So then day 2 happened, and then day 3, Tony comes back. Okay, I have been recording for about 45 minutes. This is the reason why I would go back to UPW later on. Day 3. Day 3 is called Transformation Day. And by the way, it's a 4-day conference. All right. So day 3, Tony comes back and he gets you to write down. And by the way, what I'm about to describe took place over several hours. So what I'm about to describe in 5 minutes, it's not even scratching the surface of what you're going to feel when you're there. It is hours and hours of this particular exercise, but I'm going to tell you what it is because I promised that I would, and because I don't want to forget what the exercise was. So I want to be able to look back on this and recount it if I want. So, okay. First thing he has you do is to write down 3 limiting beliefs. If you're not familiar with what a limiting belief is, it is something that you believe to be true, but you know that it's holding you back. And you guys, I'm about to get really raw and really vulnerable with you guys because I'm going to tell you what my 3 limiting beliefs were, okay? And I decided to make them like bang, the limiting beliefs that have held me back all my life. Because I'm like, I'm not gonna play small. I am done playing small. I'm going to play big and I'm going to play all in, all right? Let's see what we can do about this limiting belief. My biggest limiting belief, and this is going to sound crazy to some people, but once you write down what your limiting beliefs are, I'm sure somebody will think they're crazy, all right? Somebody will tell you that's not logical, but it's what you believe. So don't let them take that away from you. These are beliefs. So because I was bullied when I was younger, elementary school, middle school, a couple years in high school, because I was bullied so much, I have this firm belief, or I did before this event, that people hate me, that this is just like a fact, and all I do all day every day is to try to get people to not hate me. It's like that. It doesn't have to be rational, but it's something that is so embedded, and I'm kind of shaking just telling you the story. It's so embedded in me that I'm not worthy, that I'm worth nothing, that I'm not worth getting to know, that I'm, all of these things. So I'm like, you know what? I am here. I'm going to play big. Limiting belief number 1, people hate me and I hate myself, right? Like fact, all right? Fact number 2, if I am successful, people will not only hate me, but they will also want to kill me. I have this, which seems very irrational to a lot of people, but I have this belief that once you make it to a certain level and you become famous and successful, people will start sending you death threats. So I have this association of success and being murdered. And I know it sounds crazy, but I don't know what to tell you. These are beliefs that I have accrued over time. And my third limiting belief was that I have to be right about everything. Otherwise, if I am wrong, I will look stupid and people will hate me. So being intelligent is a value that I hold. It's just there. It's something I grew up with. I wanted to impress my parents. My parents always valued being smart. So that's another belief that I have. So there, I just told you guys 3 limiting beliefs that go down to my core. All right. So what he does is he has you write down these beliefs. Okay. And the next thing he has you do is to write down a consequence, a negative consequence of that belief that you have already experienced. So in my case, I wrote down, well, my self-esteem has suffered, right? I tend to play small in my business because I am afraid that once I get an audience, somebody will want to kill me. So how is that for playing small, right? Another thing is because I am so focused on being right, on not being wrong, I am very, very safe in the way that I speak, in the way that I answer questions, in the way that I do anything, because I have to be completely certain that I am right before I go and I say something wrong. So, in fact, not even being right is using common sense. Common sense is very important to me too. So, consequences, I am playing small in my business, so I am growing slowly. I am suffering from, I suffer from depression, from low self-esteem. And one big one was, I feel like I'm too hard on my son. And he's 7 years old. And I feel like I'm just too hard on him because I'm expecting the same things that my parents expected from me. And not that my parents are lovely people. They're very, very smart, very, very good people. But I always felt like I needed to impress them. So I am already seeing my son wanting to impress me and wanting to not be wrong. And that breaks my heart because I want him to feel free to be wrong, to feel free to experiment. And I feel like I'm putting in a fear that shouldn't be there. So he has to go through that written exercise. And then he shuts off all the lights in the stadium and he tells you to stand up and he asks you to visualize what your perfect life is like, right? So for at least 20 minutes, he has you visualize. So I'm here saying, well, when I make it, right, when I'm successful, I will have an apartment in New York City with a doorman. I will have a house in Florida to spend the winters there. I will take my kids on educational trips. So if they're learning about Abraham Lincoln, I'll take them to Lincoln's house, right? So they can go to the tours, they can experience history. That's very important to me. So I'm here imagining I created an addition in my house where I have my office and it has French doors to the outside with a brand new deck. So he has you picture what it's like for you to not have these beliefs and for you to really make it. And then he takes it all away. He says, I'm bringing you back like a slingshot, right? He tells you, you're not gonna get that. All of that stuff that you're dreaming about, forget about it. Because of your limiting beliefs right now, you're never gonna make it there. And then you start to hear 11,000 people in the dark crying, wailing, screaming of pain. So it's like a horror movie. And at first I couldn't get into it because since this is like a psychological exercise, it's not a business exercise, the audiences vary. There's people there who are trying to work on their health, trying to work on their weight, trying to work on their business, trying to work on their relationships. So Tony starts telling you things like kind of to get you to bring out those dark fears, right? They're like, guess what? You're not going to make it there because of your stupid fear, right? The stupid fears that you just wrote down, that's not going to happen. You know what's going to happen instead? And then he starts to tell you, okay, you are you even alive in 10 years because of the way that you've managed your health? Are you alone because people have decided to just leave you because they don't want to deal with you anymore? So he starts really trying to get you to find what he calls a leverage point, which is a reason, a solid reason why you would not want to be associated with your beliefs anymore, because the future looks so dark and so painful that you do not want that future for yourself. So at first I had trouble getting into it because he was saying things about health and things about relationships, and that, it wasn't really hitting home for me. And I started to feel like, oh shoot, am I broken? Am I gonna walk out of here not having had a breakthrough? No, I can't let that happen. So I was concentrating. And then he said something magical. He said, who has left you because they couldn't deal with you anymore? And immediately I thought of my son. And I'm like, oh shoot. Once he gets to being a teenager, he is going to realize that he doesn't need to deal with me anymore. right? He doesn't have to, do everything I say anymore. He can actually have a very good life without ever talking to me again. And that brought the waterworks. Me realizing that my son would one day realize that he doesn't have to deal with me being so hard on him. And I started to cry and I started to wail just like everybody else. And I'm like, okay, I got it. I got my leverage point. Because of these beliefs I have where I'm so hard on myself, where I believe that others hate me, all those consequences are being poured into my son, and he will eventually not even want to be associated with me anymore. And that broke me. That made me feel, okay, I got it, Tony. I don't want that future for myself. It was almost like being part of the Scrooge story, that's why he calls this the Dickens method, because it is like Scrooge, like being put through your present, past, and future, right? So that you are transformed, so that you don't want that future that you see. You need to realize how your current actions and your current beliefs are affecting your life right now, such that your wonderful future is not going to be there for you, but instead this negative future. So like I said, this is an exercise that took hours and hours and hours. But by the end, he tells you, okay, so like, are you done suffering, right? Did you find your leverage point? Okay, now I want you to imagine yourself letting go of those beliefs and actually doing the right thing. And I'm like, he said he's been pulling you back as a slingshot, right? Put to the present time when you have all these beliefs. He's like, now I'm going to let go of the slingshot and you're going to shoot yourself off into the bright future, okay? And you're going to get up and you're going to celebrate and jump. So we all did. Once he finally let go, we imagined ourselves in our bright future and not wanting to be associated with our limiting beliefs anymore. So after that, he turns on the lights. He's like, okay, now we need to make sure that we replace those beliefs with new ones. So for mine, it was like, okay, you are going to take your belief and you're going to flip it. And you're going to say the complete opposite, because normally, like usually, your belief, the opposite of your belief, is what's actually true. So for me, it was, okay, so I don't hate myself. People like me, and people actually respect me more when I'm wrong, and I say that I'm wrong, and I admit it. And people actually, like, more people like me when I'm more successful, right? You get more of an audience when you're more successful rather than less. So I wrote down these new beliefs, and then he has you do something funny for the purpose of ridiculing your old beliefs so that you don't want to be associated with them anymore. So he has you actually put your finger in your nose, right, to do something completely ridiculous, and to say in a super dumb voice, my old belief was, right? So you're here with your finger up your nose saying, my old belief was that I hate myself and that people hate me. And then he has you say, okay, now take your finger out of your nose and say, and that is total bullshit because, and then you say your new truths. So it looks something like this. Me with my finger in my nose. My old belief was that I hate myself and that people hate me, which is total bullshit because people like me more when I am successful. People respect me more when I admit that I am wrong. And actually, people like me and they like it when I'm honest and vulnerable. And I actually like myself as well. I love watching my videos. I think I do a great job at them. So yes, all of these things are actually more true than that stupid stuff that I was believing before. So that kind of wraps up the exercise, and he has you do that. It's like 20 minutes each, limiting beliefs. I'm telling you, it was hours and hours. You get to do that. You get to do that with a group of people, like turn to people around you and tell them like, this is my, and we're all saying it at the same time. So I actually can't hear what other people's limiting beliefs are because it feels like a very private thing. So you couldn't hear each other. It's everybody just saying it at the same time. And that experience alone is the reason why I would go back, because you always have something to work on, right? You always have some limiting belief that is preventing you from getting to the next level. So that is why I would go back, and that's why I found that this event in particular was extremely transformational, because now I get to do that exercise every day. And as you repeat and you repeat and you repeat, and your body starts to believe it, and your mind starts to believe it, and you start acting as if. And that's what it takes to break your mind and get out of those limiting beliefs. Now, don't take my word for it. I do recommend that people go if you have the means, if you can, if they're in your area. I think they're going to be in Los Angeles in March. I do recommend that people go. It's something that if you do early on, especially if you're a business owner, you're starting a business, to start to break your mindset so that you're ready to accept a new success is so, so important. So yeah, I totally recommend it. It was a great, amazing experience. That was day 3. So that took me 15 minutes to tell you. That's really the beef of it. Like, that's why people keep going back over and over again. It was amazing. I, to this day, keep practicing those exercises because I want my son to want to talk to me when he's all grown up. And I have already seen changes in myself when I deal with him. And we've had a wonderful week together. So yes, I believe that it worked for me. It was great for me. Then, day 4, infomercial day. You can call that infomercial day. It's the day that they try to get you to buy stuff. So, but they wrap it in stories and they wrap it in things. They have a session in the beginning about coaching. Now, I'm a coach. I already knew all the benefits of coaching. So they tell you why, having a coach really speeds up your progress. All the things that I would tell you myself, right? I don't consider my business having started until I got myself a coach and things started moving so much smoother and so much faster because somebody was actually telling me what to do. So there's a coaching session, and if you get there early, they give you the DVD bonus. And so that day they get you to try to sign up for results coaching. They get you to try to sign up for other events like Business Mastery, which is happening next year. And sign up for more and more packages, more and more things. So it was a great event. Day 4. It was cool to be there and to listen to the stories. There was one experience with meditation. He has a guy named Master Co who comes and he's like energy healer. I'm not into all of that stuff, so I didn't really get as much out of it. So while everybody was going through a 10-minute meditation, I took out my notebook and I started journaling. Started saying things to myself that I needed to hear, that I needed to remember after this event was over. And then that closed up the event. I ended up rooming with 2 wonderful, wonderful entrepreneurs. Faith Mariah, she has a blog at radicaltransformationproject.com. You should check it out. It's all about mental health. She has a great group, a great community, and I may have her on my podcast soon. And also Vitaly Bufford. She is a crisis expert. All right. She's a crisis coach. So if you've gone through trauma in your life, she gets you to break out of your beliefs, to get out of your fears and move on to have a very happy, productive life. So Vitaly, I'm also going to have her on my podcast. We already scheduled it, so it might be coming up in December or next year. So watch out for it because these women, they know what's up and we can learn a lot from them, especially, Vitaly, with having started her business and going through all the pains of starting a new business. She has a lot to say about, to you about how to start and how to do it right. And Faith Mariah, she can tell you how to make money blogging. It's amazing. It is amazing. People think that when you're a blogger, you kind of started a blog and it just got big by accident. Not so. She invested in herself. She knows what to do and she's going to tell you all about it. So I'm going to have her on my podcast too. So that's basically what happened at UPW. I would recommend it. It was excellent. It was great. And I do want to tell you that I have something coming up towards the end of this year that I want you to stay tuned for, okay? I am planning a really big launch and there's going to be a lot of really good stuff for you. So I want you to stick around. If you're not part of the mailing list, that's basically where you're going to get a lot of the detailed information when things happen. So join the mailing list. And as soon as you join, you get my 6 business models, my 6 online business models. So if you're not sure where to start, you start here by looking at how people make money online. So go to inacoveney.com/join so you can join the mailing list, get those 6 business models in your email. And also you're going to get notifications from me on when this big thing is happening, okay? So that is basically what happened at UPW, how you prepare, how you get the most out of it, and what amazing things happened on day 3. What I told you doesn't even scratch a surface of what happened. It's an immersion experience. Being there and doing this with all of these people, it really flips a switch in your life. So I recommend it. This is not a Tony ad. Take it or leave it, but I really hope that this episode was helpful and that you enjoyed it. So if you like this, definitely go over to iTunes, give me a 5-star rating, and tell other people about the show. Tell others to download this episode or to come and watch the YouTube video so that they can also learn about UPW. Okay, if you have any questions, you know where to reach me. Just send me a message. I'm the only Ina Coveney on Facebook. Just spell it right. It ends in EY. Okay, guys, have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you later.